Hey everyone, welcome back to Room 237, and now we come to episode 3 of Dexter New Blood, called Smoke Signals. Now this aired last night on Showtime, and I have to say, now that we're 3 episodes in, you can definitely have more to compare it to as far as earlier episodes. We can definitely see a bit of a pattern or a theme that's going on. I can definitely see where it's going story-wise or pacing, but not totally far enough to completely know what's going on. I'd say overall, the best part of this episode is that it showed, at least for me, that from episode 1, 2, and 3, the stakes have always gone up. Each one was more intense than the previous one. I like that a lot. We're also getting Harrison more fleshed out, which I really like where that's going. We're seeing more of our potential big bad, our major villain being unveiled, or at least now we're seeing what the end game of his MO is, how he kills. This episode overall is still about Dexter trying to cover up his slip-up and murder of Matt Caldwell, where at the end of episode 2, Angela had called off the investigation as he probably ran off somewhere. But then his father, played by Clancy Brown, shows up. He's a very big person in the community and says, "No, you all owe my family, this community is a huge family. We all got to continue looking for my son." So now not only has the investigation continued, but has become more stringent. So it shows Dexter having to deal with that. Also showing some of the side stories, like Harrison being enrolled in school in Iron Lake, and showing the little bit of our main serial killer of the episode with the transient girl that's been held captive. Now, overall, there were things about this episode that reminded me of elements of earlier episodes from earlier seasons. Not enough to say it's a blatant ripoff, but enough to make me think about it, feel a little nostalgic, but have it also be different enough to stand on its own. Like, for example, the next big step in the investigation, which, the final shot of the last episode, we see that Dexter buried Matt and his rifle right under his fire pit. And now he's got to get rid of it because they're bringing in canine dogs. But also, he finds out that there's been security cameras out in the woods. So they bring him in to kind of clear something up in the video. It's thermal, but it reminded me of season 2 when they're looking into the Bay Harbor Butcher case, the whole thing about the algae being in that marina. So they're going to check out the security cameras for anything suspicious. And Dexter finds that, there's footage of him with bags of body parts, and he clears it out. Here, though, and it makes sense that it's thermal. It's not like a plot convenience. It makes sense because a lot of game cameras out in the woods are thermal. So that made sense. And it shows Matt, and it also shows a mysterious figure with his own rifle walking through the woods. So Dexter is right there, right in front of him on camera, but it's thermal, so they can't make him out. And Dexter is there to pretty much make out the rifles that they're carrying to see if he sold any. So that reminded me of season 2. But then when he's being interrogated about some of the footage, that reminded me of season 7, when LaGuerta is interrogating Deb about the gas station footage, where she's getting the gas can filled to help burn down the church. It reminded me of that a little bit. They kind of play it off like the cop might know Jim is up to it, is up to something, but I don't quite think the season is there yet. Because at the same time, there's only 10 episodes. So even though they're going for a very slow burn at a methodical pace, they do kind of got to get to a point and make things happen. Which in earlier seasons, yeah, we would have seen Dexter kill his first victim of the season and already dispose of him. 3 episodes in, he still hasn't properly disposed of the body. In fact, it took him probably 2 episodes to at least get it buried. Other parts, like to throw off the canine dogs, he's up all night tracking Matt's hunting vest all throughout the woods, getting his scent everywhere. And then with how tired he is, he has to keep doing stuff for and with other people, and he can't get any sleep. That reminded me of, well, that and trying to figure out what to do with Matt's body reminded me of the car accident episode in season 4, where he was so tired he fell asleep at the wheel and crashed and didn't remember where he put Benny's body. And he has to stay up because of his concussion. He has to remember where he put his body. Of course, here it's where to put a body. And he's just so tired, people won't leave him alone. So, and I don't know if these callbacks were intentional, but it was enough for me to say, oh, that reminds me of this plot element from this season. And they were all things I liked. So I was able to look back on them fondly with nostalgia, but also they're different enough to where it doesn't feel like a complete ripoff, and that they're still doing something different. Also, I liked what they're doing with Harrison, because in episode 2 they showed, okay, he's very good. He's able to lie very easily. He can pick a lock very easily. How much like Dexter is he really? Here we get the idea that he's incredibly smart. He passed the he scored higher than anyone else on the placement exam. Accused him of cheating, and there is this plot element throughout the episode where Dexter kind of sides with the principal, doesn't really take Harrison's side, or at least seems like he's not. He takes it again, proves that he wasn't cheating, and he scored even higher. But also, the jockey douchebags he was hanging out with, he sees that they are tormenting this loner kid. They're catfishing him with, pretending to be this hot chick through text and getting him to open up and reveal himself. So Harrison feels bad about that, and eventually he puts those bullies in their place. So it's almost kind of like a Dexter going after killers, because he's been conditioned to channel his darkness towards other killers. But it seems like Harrison might have something against bullies and wants to stick up for those that are wronged in school. It will be interesting if that's something they continue. I kind of hope they do. He grabs the one kid by the throat. We see some of the darkness of Dexter come out in him. Also, he's FaceTiming with the kid, and the kid shows him some of his pictures, drawing him taking care of these bullies. And they're pretty graphically gory, at one point wearing a Punisher shirt. So I'm very curious to see where that goes. It would be neat if there was a parallel between Dexter going against the main serial killer of the season, and sort of Harrison having to deal with this potential school shooter or whatever this kid might end up being. This dark fantasy type kid. If there was a parallel, not that they help each other, because I think they're both strong enough characters to go off on their own subplots, but have enough parallels to where they can draw from each other. And then, of course, at the end, Dexter says, he apologizes and says, I'm always on your side from now on. Some of the humor is still there. I mean, there's a point where Angela calls Dexter, and this is right after the part in the trailer when he's in the mine and the bear comes out at him. And he says, I can't make it. I'm really tired. She says, oh, well, Audrey invited Harrison, so I figured you would want to come. And Dexter kind of does this thing where he's just like, okay, I'll go. That humor works. But then there's a part with Deb. And I will say, this is the episode where Deb kind of felt the most like Deb. She wasn't like the overbearing, coddling mother from the first episode. She wasn't the spirit of scorn and wrath that she was in the last episode. Here she kind of acts like herself. I mean, there's a part where he's parked in front of the school and they're kind of going back and forth about what to do with the body. And even her mannerisms seem to be back where she's like, oh, how about that? She's really acting like herself. But then it does kind of go a little over the top where she's like, oh, I've got it. And then it shows her outside the sidewalk of the school with the wood chipper throwing body parts in. And blood is CGI, but it's a TV show. Blood and guts coming out of the wood chipper all over students walking by. But to show she's like a spirit or his subconscious, they don't acknowledge it, which I thought that was clever. And she's like laughing and giddy, and I thought, okay, that's a bit over the top. And it made me think of how Harry was always just kind of there. He was always just kind of standing there. It didn't show him kind of, being able to make anything happen. I get it's in his head. It's something he's kind of projecting in his own mind. But the things they do with that subtly, I think, work. Like when Dexter's talking to Angela, and we see Angela, it cuts back to Dexter, then when it cuts back to Angela, it's Deb in the cop uniform saying something that Deb would say. And then it cuts back to Dexter, we cut back, it's Angela again. Stuff like that works if you want to make her, really slip in and out of not only the environment that Dexter's in, but also make it believe that he's actually, that is his subconscious through her. Instead of just making her do things like the whole wood chipper thing. I mean, it was amusing, but with the tone of the rest of the season so far, it seemed very left field. It wasn't enough to kill the episode for me by any means. And also, if anyone were to actually see, in this episode, she actually grabs Dexter, pins his head up against the medicine cabinet, or a window, or whatever it was. I mean, if anyone were to walk in and see, would he just be holding himself up against, I like the idea of Harry more just kind of standing there and being there. But some things they do with Deb are clever. Some things are very over the top. But with this episode, some of the things she said and did, especially that scene in the car or in the truck in front of the school before the wood chipper, I would say that's the time where Deb was the most like Deb so far. One thing I want to point out about Michael C. Hall's performance is, he still knows how to act nervous. When we see Dexter kind of, really nervous about something happening, he conveys it so well. And, Dexter has felt anxiety and, stress and nervous since season 2 when his underwater graveyard was found. So, he's always been able to make that very believable. So now, I guess the killer, which some people say it's not Clancy Brown. All we've seen were his eyes so far, and now it's the scene from the trailers with the white ski mask and the rifle with the red laser scope. I don't know if he's modeled after Robert Hansen, the same way Trinity was BTK. but that is kind of the direction they're going. He holds these young women captive for X amount of time. Then he just lets them go, and he just goes outside and waits for them to get so far, and then just shoots him. So that's like his end game. And this is right after Clancy Brown gets the news that the blood they found was not only human but Matt's, and now it's a murder investigation. So yeah, some people say it's not Clancy Brown because they are kind of playing the billionaire up to kind of be this dark-sided, something else is going on type character. I don't think they're going to pull a bait and switch because it's very obvious it's Clancy Brown. I don't think they're going to be that desperate to really make it look like him and then just sweep the rug from under us and have it be this completely different looking person. So I'm pretty convinced it's Clancy Brown. Maybe that billionaire is just there to throw us off because Clancy Brown is so identifiable. And then it ended with him being drunk and happy and saying that he just FaceTimed with Matt and he's still alive. That could be, maybe he's trying to call off the investigation because he just killed somebody out in the woods and now he needs to stop it so he can continue what he's doing. But Dexter was the one that saw him outside the bar and he told him, "Oh, I just talked to Matt, FaceTime." And Dexter's thinking, why would he lie? So I think that's the catalyst that's going to get Dexter to look into him. Like, maybe the next episode's going to have to be, which the trailer did make it seem like, okay, now these kills are coming to light. And I'm sure that moment with Dexter and Caldwell in front of the bar is going to be the catalyst for why Dexter looks into him. So, I mean, things are still going kind of slow, but you can definitely tell the ball is really starting to get rolling. Because, I mean, we're almost halfway through. And some people do like to speculate, because people like to speculate. They always like to say there's going to be more, or I hope there's more, but this is it. This 10-episode series is it for Dexter. They're not doing any more. Some people swear on their life that there's going to be a Harrison spinoff, and this is setting the stage. I don't think Showtime will do a Dexter-related show without Dexter. So I hate to break it to you, I'm positive that however this ends, Dexter is done, and they're not doing any spinoffs or prequels or anything like that. And yeah, since we're almost halfway done, they really got to get the ball rolling on the main point and the main act of the episode. Overall, I think it was a very good episode. I mean, the stakes have continuously gotten higher throughout every episode, which is great. Some things kind of start to drag a little bit, but not too much. Usually by the end of the episode, it plants just enough to get the ball rolling for the next one. I don't really see anything that's really filler. And every aspect of these episodes, I'm curious to see where it goes. Like Harrison in school with these bullies doesn't feel like subplot filler or anything like that. I'm curious to see where everything goes. And I think this was a great episode, episode 3. Can't wait for episode 4. Also, announced that Trinity will be coming back as a cameo. That's going to be great. Can't wait for that. And, I'm very curious to see what that is. And so, yeah, really like this episode. Can't wait for episode 4. And, yes, at some point, I do need to start doing my season-by-season reviews. I just haven't found the right time to start doing them, but they will be coming at some point. But anyway, so let me know what you think of the season so far, and thank you for watching.